The snow started just after sunset. By night, the highway was nearly empty. Wind pushed powder across the asphalt. My headlights barely cut the storm. The GPS said 3 hours left. I kept both hands tight. The heater hummed loudly inside. Radio signal faded in and out. No other cars passed 4 miles. The road felt strangely isolated. A highway sign appeared suddenly. Mile 43, covered in frost. Right beside it stood someone, a woman in a long gray coat, completely still in the snow. I slowed down instinctively. She didn't wave or move, just stared toward my headlights. Snow piled on her shoulders, like she'd been standing forever. I rolled the window slightly. "You need help?" Primera ka ledaud. Wind swallowed most of my voice. She stepped closer very slowly. Her face looked pale and tired. "My car broke down," she said. Her voice sounded oddly calm. "There's no signal out here." I glanced behind her quickly. No car was visible anywhere. "You can get in," I offered. She nodded once in relief. Snow crunched under her boots. She climbed into the passenger seat. Cold air flooded the cab instantly. "Thank you," she murmured softly. Her hands rested in her lap. They looked almost bluish cold. I turned the heater higher. She didn't seem to notice. "Where were you headed?" I asked. She stared straight ahead quietly. "Just past mile 52. She replied, "That's where I always go." Something about that felt strange. We drove in silence a while. The storm thickened even more. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. Only snow and road lines ahead. My tires hummed nervously. After 10 minutes, another highway sign appeared. I squinted through the snow. The numbers slowly became clear. Mile 43 again. I frowned in confusion. "That can't be right," I muttered. "We already passed this." The woman finally turned slightly. Her expression didn't change. "Yes," she said quietly. "This is where you found me." A chill crawled up my spine. I checked the mirror quickly. The road behind was empty. No turnoffs, no exits anywhere. Just endless snow-covered highway. "We must have looped somehow," I said. But I knew highways don't loop. The woman looked out the window, snow reflecting in her eyes. "You'll see me again," she whispered. Before I could answer, a dark shape appeared ahead. Another figure beside the road, standing under the same frosted sign. A woman in a gray coat, standing at mile 43. Already waiting, my grip tightened on the wheel. The woman beside me stayed silent. Ahead, the second figure waited motionless. Same gray coats in blowing snow. Same frozen mile 43 sign. That's impossible," I whispered. My passenger spoke calmly. "You can keep driving," she said. "Most drivers do." The second time, her voice sounded oddly distant. I slowed anyway in panic. The outside woman didn't move, head tilted slightly downward, snow piling across her shoulders. Like she'd been waiting hours. My headlights washed over her face. Pale skin, dark hollow eyes. The exact same woman beside me. Some features, same expression, like a reflection in glass. I glanced right quickly. My passenger still sat there, looking straight forward silently, breath barely fogging the window. She hadn't reacted at all. "You see her, don't you?" she asked. I swallowed hard and nodded. "She's the first stop," she murmured. Cold dread crept through me. What does that mean? "It means you stopped this time." Her hands folded tighter together. Wind howled against the truck loudly. Snow thickened into white sheets. The outside woman lifted one hand, not waving, just pointing at my truck. Slow, deliberate, certain. My pulse pounded painfully. I pressed the accelerator suddenly. The engine roared in protest. We sped past the roadside figure. For a moment, she vanished, lost in the blinding snow. I exhaled shakily in relief. Then I checked the mirror. She stood in the road behind, closer than before somehow. watching the truck disappear, her head slowly turning. "Don't look back," my passenger whispered. "It makes the road shorter." I faced forward instantly again. "What road?" I asked. Hoarsely, she didn't answer immediately. Minutes crawled by slowly. The storm showed no sign easing. Snowbanks rose higher on both sides. The GPS screen flickered strangely. Route line twisting into loops. Up ahead, another sign appeared. Half buried in drifting snow. I leaned forward nervously. Numbers glowing in headlights. Mile 52. "That's where you're going," I said. She nodded very faintly. "Yes," she replied quietly. "That's where I always get out." Something about that sounded final. As we approached the marker, I saw something in the road. A crashed sedan, half buried. Hazard lights, long dead. Snow packed thick around it. Driver's door hung open. Footprints led away from it, straight toward the roadside ditch. And there, a gray-coated figure lay frozen, face pale under snow. Eyes half open to the storm. The same woman beside me? Exactly the same clothes, exactly the same face. My breath stopped completely. I turned slowly to the passenger seat. It was empty now. Only melting snow on the fabric, and a faint cold imprint. The radio suddenly crackled alive. A distant emergency channel broke through. Multiple winter fatalities reported. Drivers picking up stranded woman. Do not stop at mile 43. Static screamed loudly. Then a soft voice whispered close. Right beside my ear. You stopped again. I spun around in terror. The back seat was no longer empty. Someone in a gray coat sat there. Snow dripping onto the floor, watching me in the mirror, and smiling faintly. I jerked my eyes forward again, heart hammering against my ribs. The truck drifted slightly on ice. I corrected the wheel quickly. Breath coming short and sharp. Into mirror, she still sat there. Gray coat soaked with melting snow, hands folded calmly in her lap. That faint, patient smile unchanged, like she had all the time. "You shouldn't watch the mirror," she said softly from behind. Her voice sounded closer now. Not loud, just certain. "It makes the drive longer." "I'm taking the next exit," I said, my voice barely steady. "There are no exits," she replied, almost gently, almost kind. "Not once the storm starts." I scanned the roadside desperately. Snow buried every signpost. Guardrails vanished under drifts. The highway stretched endlessly ahead. No lights anywhere in sight. The GPS blinked again suddenly. The map zoomed out by itself. Route lines spiraled in circles. Over and over the same stretch. Every loop marked mile 43. "This isn't possible," I muttered. The heater suddenly blew colder. Frost crept along the windshield edges. My breath fogged the glass heavily. The cab felt like a freezer. "You passed me before," she whispered. "Many drivers do at first." I gripped the wheel tighter. "What happens to them?" Silence filled the truck briefly. "They keep driving," she said finally, "until the gas runs out." My eyes dropped to the dashboard. The fuel gauge had been half. Now it hovered near empty. "That's wrong," I gasped. I filled up before leaving. Snow slammed against the truck loudly. Wind howled like distant voices. Her reflection leaned slightly closer. "You get tired eventually," she continued. "Everyone stops in the end." I pressed the accelerator harder. The engine whined in protest, speed climbing despite the ice. Headlights suddenly caught movement ahead, shapes standing across the highway. I squinted through the snow. More gray-coated figures appeared. One, then three. Then many. They stood silently in lanes, all facing toward my truck, all dusted with blowing snow. Different heights, different builds. But every face, the same woman. I slammed the brakes instinctively. Abs rattled violently beneath me. The truck skidded sideways slightly. Stopping just yards from them, my pulse roared in my ears. The figures didn't move. Didn't blink or step aside, just watched in perfect silence. Snow swirling between us, thickly. The storm muffled everything. Behind me, the door clicked softly. I hadn't touched the lock. Cold air seeped through the cab. I heard fabric shift slowly. She was moving from the back. A hand rested on my shoulder. Ice cold through my jacket. Her breath touched my ear. Soft, steady, impossibly calm. "You stopped," she whispered. Outside, every gray-coated figure raised one arm together, all pointing past my truck. Toward the road behind me, toward another highway sign. Through the snow, I saw it, mile 43, right where I had started. And beside the sign, another version of my truck waited, NG idling in the storm. My breath came in shallow bursts. The frozen hands stayed on me. Outside, the silent figures watched. Snow hissed across the highway. The storm swallowed every sound. I stared at the other truck. Same model, same color, same dents. Headlights glowing weak in snow. Driver's door hanging open slightly. Engine idling like it waited. "That's yours," she whispered softly. "The first time you stopped." My mind reeled in confusion. I've never been here before. Her faint smile didn't change. "You just don't remember yet." Her hand tightened on my shoulder. Cold seeped through my chest. The cab lights flickered once. Fuel gauge dropped to empty. The engine coughed loudly, then settled into a weak rumble. Dashboard warning lights blinked red. Outside, the gray figures stepped closer. Slow, patient, inevitable. "What happens if I don't stop?" My voice cracked badly. She leaned nearer to my ear. "Everyone stops eventually," she said. "The storm doesn't end otherwise." Wind slammed the truck hard. Snow buried the tires deeper. The engine sputtered again loudly. Finally, it died into silence. Only the storm kept breathing. The door unlocked by itself, a soft mechanical click inside. Cold air flooded the cab. My hands trembled uncontrollably. I knew I couldn't stay. "Go on," she murmured gently. "It's time to switch." Her hand slid off slowly. The cold remained in my bones. Outside, the figures parted quietly. They formed a narrow path, leading straight to mile 43. To the waiting empty truck, to the idling headlights, to the open driver's seat. I stepped out into snow. Wind cut like sharp glass. My boots sank deeply. The storm roared around me. Still, the path stayed clear. As I reached the other truck, I saw someone inside mine, a silhouette in the driver's seat, watching me through the windshield. Someone new. Someone alive. They looked confused and scared. Hands tight on their wheel. Exactly how I had been. Exactly where I had sat. The loop already beginning again. I opened the waiting truck door. The seat felt strangely warm, like someone had just left. The engine hummed smoothly, dashboard glowing, steady, and calm. Without thinking, I sat down, hands resting on the wheel. The door shut on its own. Warm air filled the cab. The storm noise softened instantly. Ahead, the highway stretched empty, no figures left in sight. Only snow and darkness beyond. The truck began rolling slowly, back onto the endless road. In the rearview mirror, I saw mile 43 fading. Beside the sign stood a figure, a driver waving desperately, snow covering their shoulders. Waiting for someone to stop, my radio crackled faintly. A distant voice came through. "Winter warning on highway. Report of stranded driver. Assist if you see them." I tightened my grip silently. The heater hummed around me. The road stretched on forever. Storm never growing lighter. Gas gauge never dropping now. Because the tank stays full as long as I keep driving. And somewhere ahead tonight, another car will slow. At mile 43,